The clink of crystal glasses against polished marble, the low hum of conversations punctuated by polite laughter, and the soft glow of amber chandeliers created an atmosphere of refined elegance at Leonarden, one of Manhattan's most exclusive Michelin-starred restaurants. Alexander Thornfield, dressed impeccably in a tailored midnight blue suit, surveyed the room with a practiced eye. At 33, he had built a hospitality empire worth over $3 billion, and every detail of this inspection mattered to him. Welcome to Stories by Jason. If you're settled in and ready for a good story, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I've got another exciting story coming your way tomorrow, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. Now let's dive in. Everything seems under control, murmured his assistant, her voice barely audible over the gentle jazz in the background. But Alexander wasn't listening. His attention had been captured by someone moving through the room with an unusual grace. A waitress, tall and slender, her ponytail swinging lightly as she balanced trays, glided past tables with a confidence that defied her station. There was no hesitation, no fear, no clumsiness. She didn't flinch at the sight of him or his entourage, unlike the other servers who seemed to shrink under his gaze. Alexander's blue eyes narrowed with curiosity. He had met countless high-end servers in his life, but something about this one was different. The way she carried herself suggested focus, control, and a quiet inner strength. It was unsettling and irresistible. "Who is that?" he whispered, more to himself than to his assistant. "Maya Chin, sir. She works the evening section, tables 12 through 18. 6 months with us," she replied, her voice tentative. "She's excellent at her job." Alexander allowed himself a slow smile, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. Excellent or extraordinary? Before anyone could respond, the front doors exploded open. A trio of masked men stormed in, shouting orders, their guns gleaming under the restaurant's soft lighting. "Everyone on the ground," one of them barked, his voice laced with authority and menace. Panic erupted instantly. Diners screamed, diving under tables. Servers dropped trays in shock. Wine glasses shattered on the marble floor. The trio moved with precision, collecting valuables, wallets, phones, watches, without hesitation. Alexander's own security team started to react, but they were too far away, positioned near the kitchen, unable to prevent the immediate chaos. Yet, amidst the screams and chaos, one figure stood out. Maya Chin remained perfectly calm. Her breathing was steady, her body poised like a coiled spring. She moved behind a marble pillar, eyes tracking every movement, every threat, with surgical precision. "You, ponytail," the leader shouted, his scarred face twisted in anger. "Start helping or someone dies." Maya stepped forward deliberately, her hands visible. "Of course," she said in a voice that was calm, almost disarming. "Please don't hurt anyone." The leader smirked, assuming he had a compliant accomplice. That was his first mistake. In a blur of motion that seemed impossible, Maya grabbed a nearby marble-topped side table and swung it with calculated force, striking the leader midsection and sending him crashing into an ornate wine display. Before the others could react, she swept the legs of the second gunman, rolled behind the bar, and executed a perfect aerial strike, disarming the third. 30 seconds later, all 3 attackers were unconscious, sprawled across the restaurant floor. Silence followed, broken only by the sound of the police sirens approaching. Alexander's security team arrived, too late to intervene but perfectly in time to witness the aftermath. And there was Maya, standing in the center of it all, adjusting her uniform and apologizing for the mess. "For the property damage?" Alexander asked, incredulous. She nodded politely. "Yes. I know it will require extensive cleanup." Alexander blinked. This young woman had saved lives, and yet all she cared about was the shattered glass. He felt a curious mix of admiration, intrigue, and, unsettlingly, desire. Later that evening, when the police had left and the restaurant had been partially restored, Alexander found himself in the kitchen, observing her from a distance as she coordinated the remaining staff with unerring efficiency. He had watched many managers and supervisors in his life, but none moved with the same combination of authority and grace. Where exactly did you learn to fight like that? He asked, approaching her carefully. YouTube videos, she said flatly, her eyes meeting his with calm intensity. Alexander almost laughed at the obvious lie but sensed that pushing would yield nothing. Dinner tomorrow night, he said suddenly. Somewhere quiet, where we can talk without interruptions. She paused, eyebrow raised. I don't think that's appropriate. You're my boss. I'm asking as someone who is fascinated, not as your employer, Alexander interrupted, a rare, genuine smile tugging at his lips. You intrigue me tonight. That's all. Maya studied him carefully, her posture subtly defensive. I don't date customers, employers, or men who think they can collect interesting people like trophies. Which category do I fall into? All three, he admitted with a laugh. She shook her head and walked away, leaving Alexander standing among the broken glass, wondering why rejection had never felt so significant. 3 days later, Alexander found himself in an unprecedented position, sitting in the staff break room before sunrise, pretending to review inventory reports while waiting for Maya's shift to begin. When she arrived, he observed her natural rhythm, reviewing reservations, memorizing dietary restrictions, anticipating guests' needs before they even realized them. Henry Dubois, the restaurant's head chef, appeared beside him. She's something else, isn't she? He murmured. Chess player, Alexander said, eyes following Maya as she orchestrated the staff like a seasoned general. She's thinking 6 moves ahead. Overqualified for this planet, if you ask me, Henry whispered with a grin. Later that night, as the dining room filled with the elite and demanding clientele, Alexander positioned himself to observe Maya without being noticed. Every motion, every word, every detail she remembered was executed flawlessly. She was a master of timing and human psychology, anticipating problems and smoothing them before anyone else noticed. And then, after service, Alexander caught sight of her in the alley, practicing martial arts with breathtaking precision under the dim glow of security lights. He watched her spin, strike, and move with a level of control that only years of disciplined training could produce. My grandfather taught me, she said simply when he finally asked, still catching his breath. Li Wei-chin? Alexander asked, recognition dawning. The legendary master from San Francisco Chinatown? Her eyes flickered with guarded caution. That was a long time ago. And for the first time, Alexander realized that there was far more to this quiet, fearless waitress than anyone could ever imagine. The city lights shimmered behind them, casting long shadows down the alley, as 2 lives, one built of privilege, the other of survival and discipline, began an unspoken journey that neither would forget. But unseen, a pair of eyes watched from across the street, capturing every movement, every interaction. And Marcus Webb, Alexander's business partner and longtime friend, was already plotting a plan that would test the limits of trust, courage, and loyalty. The evening air outside Leonarden was crisp, tinged with a faint scent of rain that had fallen earlier. Inside, the restaurant hummed with its usual rhythm, the low chatter of patrons, the clinking of cutlery, and the subtle hiss of steaming sauces from the kitchen. Alexander Thornfield sat in a shadowed corner near the back of the dining room, a glass of aged single malt untouched before him. His gaze, however, was not on the drink, it was on Maya Chin. She moved like a conductor guiding an orchestra, balancing trays with trays of delicate appetizers, wine glasses, and desserts, all without a single slip. Every interaction with a guest was measured, graceful, and deliberate. Her smile was warm but not rehearsed, her tone conversational yet perfectly pitched for the clientele. A man in a bespoke Armani suit asked about a wine pairing, and she replied with such knowledge and subtle charm that he was practically leaning forward to hear more. Another table complained softly about a missing side dish, and she defused the situation with a calm nod, quickly producing the correct order without a trace of frustration or embarrassment. Alexander's attention sharpened. He had watched hundreds of servers in high-end restaurants, but few, if any, exhibited this level of precision under pressure. And yet, he noticed something more, a quiet intelligence in the way she read the room. She anticipated questions before they were asked, predicted minor conflicts before they escalated, and somehow seemed aware of the tiniest details in the dining room's energy. He realized, with a thrill he hadn't expected, that she was always in control, not just of her tasks, but of the atmosphere around her. "She's extraordinary," he murmured under his breath. "Sir?" Henry Dubois, the head chef, appeared beside him, carrying a plate of seared scallops. "Extraordinary," Alexander repeated. "Not just competent, extraordinary. Have you noticed how she can manage 30 people without breaking a sweat?" Henry nodded knowingly. "That's Maya Chin. I've worked with plenty of servers, but she's different. She's calm under fire. Unflappable. People underestimate her because she doesn't look like a warrior, but she is one. In more ways than you'd expect." Alexander raised an eyebrow. "More ways?" Henry smirked faintly, shaking his head. "We'll see. Be careful getting too close. People with skills like hers, they usually have secrets." Alexander's interest only deepened. Secrets intrigued him more than wealth, more than power. And Maya Chen had the aura of someone whose life had been forged in fire. By the end of service, the dining room quieted and the staff began clearing tables. Alexander lingered near the bar, watching as Maya coordinated the end-of-day routines with unerring efficiency. No detail was too small to escape her attention: the placement of utensils, the stacking of glasses, the gentle reassurances to weary staff members. It was a performance of quiet dominance, invisible yet undeniable. "You've been here a while," Maya said suddenly, appearing beside him. Her voice was calm, but there was a subtle edge that told him she had noticed his watchful gaze. "I wanted to see you in action," Alexander admitted. "I wanted to understand what makes you different." She paused, studying him, her expression unreadable. "And what have you concluded?" "That you're far more than a waitress," he said carefully. "You're precise, intelligent, and extraordinary at what you do." Maya's lips curved into the faintest smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Flattery doesn't get you very far with me, Mr. Thornfield. I suspect you already know that." Alexander chuckled, though it was edged with genuine curiosity. "I'm not trying to flatter. I'm trying to understand." Her gaze softened fractionally, and she took a step closer. "Understanding isn't always safe. Some things are better left unexamined." "Dangerous things?" he asked lightly, though a shiver ran down his spine at the intensity of her stare. Maya hesitated, then finally nodded. "Yes, dangerous things." Alexander felt a thrill of anticipation. He had never met anyone who exuded such an aura of danger and control, and yet her calmness was magnetic, impossible to resist. "I see," he said slowly. "Then I suppose the proper response is to proceed carefully." Her eyes flickered with faint amusement. "Or not at all." That night, after the restaurant closed, Alexander remained outside, hidden in the alley, observing Maya as she performed her evening ritual. While most employees would have gone home or to a gym, Maya opened a small duffel bag and extracted her training equipment: a pair of weighted gloves, a jump rope, and a set of wooden practice swords. Alexander's pulse quickened. The grace and precision she displayed with the swords was almost hypnotic. Each movement, strike, parry, step, spin, was executed with surgical precision. Even in the dim alley light, he could see the focus in her eyes, the slight twitch of muscles honed through years of disciplined practice. She wasn't just trained, she was a master in motion, a living embodiment of controlled energy. Finally, she paused, breath steady, chest rising and falling with a rhythm of perfect balance. Alexander stepped forward, unable to contain his fascination. "You trained under someone," he said. "I can see it in the way you move." Maya's head snapped up, eyes narrowing slightly. "How do you know?" "I've trained," he said with a faint shrug. "I recognize the discipline, the precision, the control." For a long moment, she studied him, as if weighing the risk of revealing too much. Then she spoke, her voice quiet but unwavering. "My grandfather, Li Weichen, he trained me when I was young. Martial arts, yes, but more than that, discipline, awareness, strategy. Everything I know about control, I learned from him." Alexander's eyes widened. "Li Weichen, the master from San Francisco?" The one who disappeared for years after the syndicate incident. Maya nodded, eyes darkening slightly. That's him. He taught me to anticipate threats before they appear, to control my reactions, and never to reveal everything I know. Those lessons have kept me alive more times than I can count. Alexander felt a pang of awe. This quiet, elegant waitress was a product of a hidden world, one of discipline, danger, and survival. It explained the calm during the robbery, the flawless execution, the anticipation of every move in the room. And yet, it also explained the subtle caution in her eyes, the wariness of someone who had lived too long in shadows. "You trust me," he said carefully. "Or at least, you let me watch." Maya's expression was inscrutable. "I don't trust easily. And trust is not given lightly when you've had enemies at your back since childhood." Alexander leaned closer, his curiosity sharpened by the mystery. "Enemies? What do you mean?" She hesitated as if debating how much to reveal. Finally she spoke. "There are people, dangerous people, who remember things from my past. Things that I would rather leave buried. Some are still looking for me. Some want me gone." A chill ran down Alexander's spine, though he forced a calm exterior. This was more than the intrigue of a fearless waitress. It was the shadow of a life he had not imagined, a world of unseen enemies and perilous secrets. And somehow, he knew that getting involved meant he would be drawn into that darkness as well. "And yet," he said softly, "here you are, standing in plain sight, serving the finest guests in New York." Maya's lips curved in a faint, almost sad smile. Sometimes hiding in plain sight is the safest place to be. People underestimate what they cannot see. Alexander felt a surge of admiration, and something more. She was fascinating, beautiful in a way that combined strength and mystery, calm and intensity. She was an enigma wrapped in skill and grace, and he couldn't tear his eyes away. For her part, Maya remained cautious. She had lived too long in a world where trust was a weapon, where curiosity could get people killed. And yet, she couldn't deny that there was something about Alexander Thornfield, his intelligence, his patience, the way he watched without immediately trying to control, that sparked a flicker of curiosity in her own guarded heart. The chemistry between them was subtle, almost invisible, like an electrical current that both drew them together and warned them of danger. There was an unspoken tension, a silent dance of observation and restraint. Neither knew how far it could go, or whether it should. As she packed her equipment and slipped quietly into the night, Alexander remained in the shadows, thinking about what he had seen. She was more than he had imagined, and now he understood that getting involved meant stepping into a world he had never known. A world of precision, danger, and secrets buried deep. And somewhere, watching them both, Marcus Webb's shadowy figure lingered in the distance. He had already begun plotting, weaving threads of deceit and danger that would force both Alexander and Maya to confront the hidden corners of their pasts. In the quiet of the night, under the glow of street lamps and the distant hum of the city, Alexander realized that this was only the beginning. Secrets were waiting, shadows were moving, and a life of calm control, like Maya's, could never remain hidden forever. The game had begun. And Alexander was both fascinated and terrified at how deeply he wanted to play. The morning sunlight streamed through the expansive windows of Thornfield's penthouse, cutting across the marble floors in sharp lines. The city below hummed with life, indifferent to the quiet storm that had passed in the lives of Alexander Thornfield and Maya Chin. Alexander sat in his study, staring at a series of reports detailing the latest financial movements of his empire. Yet, despite the numbers, his thoughts were elsewhere. Maya's absence from his side left a hollow ache he didn't quite understand at first. It wasn't just concern for her safety, though that was there, but something deeper, a pull he could neither explain nor resist. The door opened quietly, and there she was, Maya, slightly disheveled, a few strands of hair escaping her usual flawless bun, bruises faint but visible along her forearms. She had faced the threat that Marcus Webb had sent their way, and emerged alive. Yet the fight had left its mark, both physically and emotionally. Alexander rose without hesitation. "Maya," he said softly, stepping closer, his hand brushing against hers. "You shouldn't have taken the risk alone." She shook her head, though the tension in her shoulders betrayed her. "I couldn't wait. Every hour counted, Alex. If we hesitated, the chance would have been lost. You know that." He searched her eyes, seeing the unspoken exhaustion and determination. "I do. But I also know that I can't protect you from everything, and I don't want you putting yourself in harm's way just for me." Her lips curved in a faint smile. "Then you'd better learn to be patient." Alexander chuckled softly, though his gaze lingered on her as if memorizing every detail. He reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face, and for the first time in a long while, Maya didn't recoil. Their eyes locked, and in that silent exchange, a spark ignited, a mutual recognition of vulnerability, trust, and an attraction neither could deny. Days turned into weeks, and the wounds from their recent battles demanded attention. Alexander insisted on overseeing her recovery, not out of possessiveness but from a desire to be near her, to support her as they both healed. Physical therapy sessions were paired with long conversations over tea, where the walls Maya had carefully constructed began to crumble. She spoke of her grandfather, Li Wei-chen, and the rigorous training that had shaped her. She told him of enemies she had eluded, of moments when survival seemed impossible, and of the strength it had taken to continue living life in the shadows. Alexander, in turn, shared the burdens of his empire, the deals that required delicate negotiation, the betrayals, and the constant balancing act of power. In these quiet moments, their connection deepened, bridging gaps of fear and past trauma. "You've survived so much," Alexander said one evening, watching the fading light paint golden streaks across her face. "And yet, you remain incredible." Maya's eyes glimmered with something between amusement and vulnerability. "And you've survived as well, Alex. Not just the business world, but the betrayals, the loneliness, everything. That's what makes you remarkable." The tension between them shifted, subtle touches lingering just a heartbeat too long, unspoken words vibrating in the space between them. Their attraction became undeniable, yet it was grounded in respect, trust, and the acknowledgement of each other's scars. With her recovery underway, Maya insisted on returning to the restaurant, and to Alexander's side, not just as a healer of their own lives, but as a partner in his expanding empire. Together, they strategized, merging their skills. Alexander's business acumen, precision, and bold decision-making combined seamlessly with Maya's intuition, discipline, and unerring foresight. She anticipated problems before they arose, optimized workflows, and managed teams with a tact he had never witnessed. The empire grew stronger. A new line of high-end restaurants launched, each one infused with her philosophy of excellence, elegance, and quiet mastery. The media caught wind of the duo, spinning stories of the mysterious, talented woman behind the empire's new successes, but no one knew her true story. Alexander and Maya found themselves working late nights side by side, strategizing, laughing, and sometimes bickering over minor details. Each interaction deepened their bond, transforming admiration into affection, and affection into a subtle, almost irresistible longing. It was during one of these late-night sessions that Alexander finally broke the silence that had lingered between them for so long. "Maya," he said softly, his hand brushing against hers across the polished mahogany desk. "I can't pretend anymore. I've been trying to remain cautious, but I can't. I want you, in every sense of the word. Not just as a partner, not just as someone I admire, but as someone I love." Her eyes widened, the vulnerability of the past weeks shining through. Slowly, she leaned closer, her forehead resting against his. "Alex, I've been waiting to hear that," she whispered. "I've been afraid, but I feel the same. I trust you, and I want us to face everything together." The days that followed tested both their personal and professional bonds. Competitors attempted to sabotage the expansion of their empire. Former allies turned rivals. And Marcus Webb, relentless as ever, sought every opportunity to undermine them. But with their partnership solidified, Alexander and Maya navigated each challenge with precision. Maya's strategic mind anticipated threats, while Alexander's decisive actions neutralized them before they could escalate. Their chemistry, once an unspoken tension, now became a weapon, a seamless synergy that others could neither predict nor counter. They worked through crises together, whether a public relations nightmare, a hostile board member, or a dangerous encounter with a shadowy figure from Maya's past. Each time, they emerged victorious, their bond strengthened by shared triumphs and mutual reliance. Even during the most dangerous encounters, their love became a source of courage. When Maya faced an unexpected attack from a hired operative, Alexander was there, not just to fight, but to shield, to anticipate, and to ensure her safety. In turn, Maya's skills allowed them both to escape unscathed, her discipline and calm under pressure complementing his strategic mind. It wasn't just survival, it was redemption. Each obstacle conquered became a testament to their resilience, courage, and unwavering trust in each other. One evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline, casting warm hues over their penthouse, Alexander and Maya stood on the terrace overlooking the city. The chaos of the past months had given way to a rare moment of peace. "You know," Maya said softly, leaning against the railing, "I never imagined I'd find someone I could trust this completely. Someone who understands both the shadows and the light." Alexander wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her close. "And I never imagined I'd meet someone who could challenge me, inspire me, and yet protect me from myself. We've both survived, and now, we've built something stronger than either of us alone." Maya rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Resilience, courage, trust. It's more than words, isn't it? It's what got us here. And it's what will keep us together. Alexander kissed the top of her head, a quiet promise of devotion and protection. "Together, Maya. Nothing can break us. Not the past, not enemies, not even time." They stood there for a long moment, the city alive below, reflecting on their journey. Each scar, each challenge, had brought them closer. Every danger faced, every betrayal overcome, had forged a bond stronger than any obstacle the world could throw at them. Months later, the empire they had built was thriving beyond expectations. The restaurants were a sensation, praised not only for culinary excellence but for the impeccable precision and care evident in every detail. Investors sought them out, competitors respected them, and the media spun tales of the brilliant duo at the helm. Alexander and Maya attended the grand opening of their flagship location together, side by side, a perfect balance of power, elegance, and grace. As the ribbon was cut, the crowd erupted in applause. Cameras flashed, but all they noticed was each other. In that moment, amidst the fanfare and celebration, Alexander whispered, "We did it. We built something unbreakable." Maya's eyes sparkled with triumph and love. "Not just the empire, Alex, us." The applause faded into the background, replaced by the quiet understanding that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, stronger, braver, and in love beyond measure. Later that night, as the city slept, Alexander penned a note in his journal. "Life tests us in ways we cannot predict. It strips us bare, forcing us to confront fear, pain, and loss. But in those moments, true strength emerges, not in isolation, but in connection. Maya taught me that trust is more powerful than strategy, that courage is not the absence of fear, and that love can survive even in the shadows of danger. Together, we have built not only an empire, but a sanctuary of resilience and redemption. And that is the greatest victory of all." Maya read the words over his shoulder, a smile of contentment softening her features. "Then let's never stop building," she whispered. Alexander took her hand, squeezing it gently. "We won't. Not as long as we face life together." And for the first time in a long time, both of them truly believed it. That love, trust, and resilience, tempered in the crucible of survival, could withstand anything. Indy, thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazy and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.